Hello, and thanks for being here for Greet the Week. I am Mona Duncan, and today's topic is on, I don't even have it here. It is on, well, it's on tips on overcoming a bad mood. Do you ever have a bad mood? And so I'm going to bring up the video here to full so that you can see it, overcoming a bad mood. And what is exactly is a mood? As I looked it up under thesaurus, it has everything from being our disposition to our attitude to our temper to our humor. So it seems to me that it needs a qualifier, as in overcoming a, rather than just saying it's a mood, it needs a qualifier, as in, is it a good mood or a bad mood or a not so good mood? And so what I want, oh wait, I wasn't showing the screen, was I?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Well, screen share. Here is, and I'm going to bring it at full term in just a minute. So, overcoming a bad mood. What exactly is a mood? And looking it up in the thesaurus, it's that it's just has a whole spectrum of things that could be qualified for. So then, as I was thinking about it, I said, well, does looking at what a mood is, does it require some kind of a qualifier, as in bad, good, not so good, stubborn, willing? To what qualifier needs to be put in front of that mood? And so that takes me to the quantum theory question. And there's so much, not that I understand it, but that I try to understand it. I just really love trying to understand quantum theory and looking at it. Is it a particle or is it a wave? And so before I put up the whole entire thing, I want to show you I'm going to stop sharing so I can bring this up. And I hope you can, let me know if you can see this. Can you see this okay? This is my definition of the particle and wave dialogue. And that the particles over here's the particles, and they're just little random things. They're not sorted, they're random, they're unique and different. It can be a hodgepodge of things. But then eventually, for some reason, and you notice right here in the middle, there's a blank space there. And somehow in that blank space that all of the scientists and so forth that are studying quantum theory has not quite brought together to have the next step and how it works together. But somewhere in this, the particle then becomes a wave where it's working together in unison. And so I came up with that little, and now I'll just share with you again and go to the full screen. And look at the God particle. This is this definition is thanks to Professor Dr. J. Dittman at Baylor University, and he has been for several years in Geneva, Switzerland. He's back in Waco at the beginning of the year, and held a wonderful uh, thing on the atom smasher or the God particle. So I've already kind of shown you what I'm talking about with it being in particles, being random, and then somehow it becomes kind of a wave. And when it gets more in the wave unit, it's more adaptable to scientific discovery and principles and so forth. So, according to Dr. Dittman, the atom smasher, which is to take all of these different random particles and put them into the smasher. And so, if you put strawberries in, that's all you're putting in is just strawberries, and it smashes, it goes through that speed of a tunnel, and it gets up to all of this high powered speed and it smashes in. And what you can expect is to come out, it's the strawberries, but they're mushed up. I mean, they're just almost liquefied. And so that happens occasionally. But what happens more often than anything else is that you put strawberries in. And of course, we're just looking at any of the things that could be smashed to see all of the particles that would be inside them. You could put the particles in, but then what happens is whenever it is smashed, it comes out and there's avocados and pears and apples and pecans and all kinds of random stuff. I'm hoping this will make sense as we begin to look a little further. So that God particle is looking at the fact that there is a divinity, that there is something unexplainable in all of these things, even though with all the intelligent minds that are looking at it haven't quite come up with the definitive answer of either. And so people continue to look at it as the God particle. But sometimes they look at it as the God blank particle and have a tendency to maybe put a foul word in there, because what is showing itself to be is not what we were looking for, as in wanting strawberries in and having strawberries come out even as mush in a different form. But we certainly don't expect the strawberries to come out not even with a strawberry in it. And my purpose in thinking about this is looking at how we as humans have so many different moods. We have so many different aspects, so many different insights, so many different, there's just such a wide variety of choices. There's just such a wide variety. And so here I had this little, thought we would look for just a minute in recognizing our humanity and in realizing the fact that we cannot read another person's mind. No matter how astute we are at understanding and communicating and relating to, we are all unique and special. And so, in recognizing our humanity and realizing that I cannot read another person's mind, it is looking at the fact that assumptions divide us. And I made this little graphic up here that I'm sure you've heard this before. If you would take this assumption and put there's you, the little, what qualifiers goes with a donkey? Is it being stubborn? Is it being difficult? Is it using a voice? I mean, whenever he brays, it's not quite so melodious. And so sometimes whenever those assumptions begin to divide us, and those assumptions produce stubbornness in us, and it becomes you against me because we are presuming. And so what can we do in recognizing our humanity is to calmly consider the information we have been given. Another person may be giving it in a way that's not easy to understand, but is to calmly consider the information that they are giving us. It is also to clarify to the person what we have understood the intentions to be. That let me see if I'm understanding what you're sharing with me. Let me see if I can understand where you're coming from. This is what I have understood that you want the outcome to be. And then also considering her hopes for the outcome. What is, not only what are your intentions, but then what do you want? What are you wanting it to look like when we get there? What are you wanting it to look like whenever? And what will be the length of time? And can you begin to look at it as something that is doable, or is it begin to something that needs to have a qualifier in there as to when would it be doable? When can we grow into that? When can we mature into that? And then also to begin to look at whenever those difficult things are confronting us, to engage our options of choice. And there are many of them. We may not even realize it. Engage our options of choice. And one of the first choices is to choose, and this is a biggie, is to not take personally what the other person is giving us. To not take it personally, even though it may be askew, even though it may be angry, even though it may be silent, not speaking up. Don't take it personally. Begin to realize, engage those options of choice with you. Choose to see the value in the assumed offender, because we are so different. There is such a difference in all of those particles going on in our life. And we want them to eventually come into that wave that to see value in the individual, that their point of view, where they are coming from, has a lot of value to them. And then also to choose to address the issue, not attack the personality of the other person, rather than, having these thoughts of, well, they're stupid, well, they're, anyway, instead of having ugly attack thoughts, begin to look and address the person, continuing to value them as a human being with worth and value. And then it is difficult to respond to another person civilly if we are mentally calling them names, or if we are mentally degrading them or seeing them as not being up to par. And then also seeing the disagreement as a personal, whenever we do slide into that particle hodgepodge and we begin to see those disagreements as personal attacks, it has a tendency to make us defensive. And we're wanting to not be defensive, but to be compassionate and understanding. And then how we interpret an event is always within our control. And so we can go with, I could think differently about this situation. And then begin to look at the vast field of thinking differently about the situation and how it could be for the better. And in relating, which we're wanting to relate with the others, whomever the others are, whether it's individuals or a group, in relating, our maturity allows the point to reach its intended goal. Now, the person may not realize it right then, because always in working with individuals and with them working with us, we need to give time to let what was said settle in, so that it doesn't come across as a shout, but more as, oh, now I understand. And then also in overcoming those bad moods is to weigh our emotions honestly and to not use negative situations that would cause us then to place blame or deny reality. Sometimes, it can be so easy for something to be so obvious that we begin to place blame or deny what the reality is, because situations are difficult. And if the presenting is kind of out of bounds, it can be difficult to not want to place blame or to deny the reality. Then we need to get candid with ourselves as to whether, in looking back on that situation, once it's been settled to whatever degree, can we get honest with ourselves and get candid with ourselves as to whether or not we were being passive, or whether or not, or in what instances we may have were acting aggressively. And then also to measure within ourselves how much pushing we were doing, which was our point of view as a truth, and we were trying to push it on someone else. Because, anytime you reach out to someone and they reach out to you, it can be a joining of. But if we begin to have a pushback that you're going to believe this or not, anytime there's a pushback, then it's pushing back at us too, and it's not being effective. And so we need to work with our emotions and kind of look at ourselves as how compassionate am I in dealing with these hurdles, in helping someone to see a different point of view, or and then how in this situation can I develop character through this, even though I think I'm not being effective. How can I develop character? Or how can I still value the person and realize that probably there was a little seed there that may have begun to take root? And then where can we find the courage within ourselves to find the good within us, as well as to find the good within the other person? To begin to look at um, the very disparities in our ideas, in our belief system, in our cultures, in our different things, but to still find the connectedness. And then to be honest enough to face the difficulty and overcome it. To overcome it as into maybe there's someone else that could work with this individual better than I can. To face the difficult of but just honestly, to get honest with our emotions. And so here in bringing this little thought of overcoming a bad mood to a close, this is a poem that I wrote back in 1986. And just today I modified it because it was originally just to my family or to a family. And so whether it is a poem or a prayer, it's an opening into my own wisdom heart for more compassion and more love. So the cry is, Lord, help me to love unconditionally and to appreciate the unique gifts and talents of others. Because sometimes they can be a little disconcerting. Help me to show wisdom and character by example. Help me to appreciate without demanding changes, to promote security without holding on too tight. Help me to care and to respect. May we be able, whoever it is that I'm engaging with, may we be able to share our thoughts and dreams without fear of condemnation. Are we a safe person for others to share with us? May we express our feelings without being rejected. May we build memories that are pleasant, hearts that are compassionate, and backbones that bears each other's burdens, that really cares, that really wants to help. So, think you can do it? Well, I think you can. And I'd love to hear from you or get in touch with you. And we're going to stop the recording now. And thank you for being here, and stay about, and we'll talk with each other.